Managing behavior is a very common goal of behavior analytics services. And if you're a parent and are wondering, what does this all entail? Well, in this episode of Incompetency Assessment, we are discussing the functions of behavior and other relevant terms in the subject of behavior management. Before we get started talking about the functions of behavior, it is important to understand the following two concepts before we dive in. There is the three-term contingency, known as the antecedent, behavior, and consequence. This concept helps to determine, anecdotally, the functions of behavior when each instance occurs. It is helpful because being able to know the before and after of each instance of, for example, your child screaming, it helps to know why it even started and how it even stopped. And before we continue talking about functions of behavior, let's talk about function. The function is known as the reason, which in technical terms means the reinforcement or type of reinforcement that is obtained through emitting a behavior. In general, when discussing the functions of behavior, there are two types of reinforcement that is obtained. One is positive and one is negative. We'll go through each type of positive reinforcement and each type of negative reinforcement. Under positive reinforcement, we have three different types: social positive reinforcement, also known as attention, tangible reinforcement, and automatic positive reinforcement. Social positive reinforcement is any behavior that results in immediate attention from others. Usually that's in the form of head turns, surprised facial expressions, reprimands, etc. Typically, attention-maintained behavior arises from situations in which attention is not usually given. This is either because the person who is emitting the behavior does not have the repertoire to gain attention properly, or because the person that they are trying to get attention from is usually otherwise occupied. Let's look at an example of attention-maintained behavior. As you can see in this example, the Sheridan High School student section attempted to draw attention away from the basket to distract the shooter. They were successful in distracting the shooter enough for the shooter to miss a wide open free throw. They had gained the attention of the shooter through emitting the behavior of the distraction. Tangible reinforcement is defined as any behavior that results in accessing something reinforcing. For example, a favorite TV show. Typically, problem behavior may occur if providing the item temporarily stops the behavior. However, this comes at a cost of potentially increasing the frequency of that behavior in similar circumstances.
Oh, do me a favor. Peel this apple for me, please.
No, I'm not gonna peel an apple for you.
But Mac always does it for me.
Why does Mac peel your apples for you?
He doesn't like for me to eat the apples with the skin on it. He says the skin's loaded with toxins.
Okay, well, good news. Mac's not here.
Well, I know he's not here, and that's why I need you to do it for me, please.
Oh, Jesus. Just eat it with the skin on
I do not like it with the skin, Dee. I'm not allowed to eat it with the skin. I'm not allowed.
Oh, my God. All right. If you just shut up, I will peel the apple for you the way that Mac likes you to eat it. Give it to me. Give it to me. I'll do it the way that Mac insists. Okay?
Yeah.
As you just saw in this video, Dennis screams, and Dee tells him that if he stays quiet, she will peel the apple for him. Dennis gained tangible reinforcement from this instance of screaming. The last type of positive reinforcement we'll discuss is automatic positive. This function is not dependent on the action of others, and behaviors can be assumed to be maintained by automatic positive reinforcement only after social reinforcers have been ruled out. For example, thumb sucking is reinforcing due to the physical stimulation. It would be easy to infer that the function is automatic positive if the behavior occurs when the individual is alone. Moreover, it is easy to infer that the function is automatic positive or negative if the behavior occurs when the individual is alone, which we will discuss in the next section. Moving on to negative reinforcement, there are two main types. One is social negative reinforcement, also known as escape, and automatic negative reinforcement. When we refer to social negative reinforcement, it's also known as escape, and that means it's any behavior that is effective in terminating or postponing an aversive event or action. For example, hanging up the phone during a phone call with a chatty aunt would be an escape-maintained behavior, because that is escaping from the aversive event of the chatty aunt's phone call.
We're not talking about a rat, we're talking about a little
We're
mouse.
talking about a rat. It still would lose.
No,
My
it's a
spider.
little mouse fighting a scorpion, and that is final. Shut up! Oh my God, I don't care!
One thing to note is that behaviors can be multiply maintained. While this example of screaming was done to escape the aversive situation of the gang arguing about a mouse, Charlie also screamed for social positive reinforcement, also known as attention. Automatic negative reinforcement is, as the title suggests, automatic, which is behavior that is maintained by something that may be physically painful or uncomfortable. For example, jaw clenching may be maintained by anxious feelings, or excessive scratching may be maintained by excessive itchiness. So we know the functions of all these behaviors, but how would we manage them? There are 3 types of management strategies. One is to teach a replacement behavior, the second one is punishment, and the third is extinction. So when it comes to replacement behaviors, this is where identifying the function of a behavior is important, because it is at this point you can intervene and teach a suitable replacement behavior. And a replacement behavior is defined as any behavior that is more appropriate to emit that produces the same function. Punishment is another strategy to manage behavior, and that is when a behavior is followed immediately by a consequence that lessens the future likelihood of the behavior occurring. This is not negative reinforcement. Negative reinforcement is when you take something away that increases the future likelihood of a behavior. Another strategy is called extinction, and that is defined as whenever the reinforcement of a behavior that was previously reinforced is discontinued, and this leads to the behavior being less likely to occur in the future. Extinction essentially terminates the relationship between what is the reinforcer and what is the behavior by changing the environment so that the behavior no longer produces reinforcement. For example, in attention-maintained screaming, if you stop giving attention to the screaming, then the behavior will be less likely to occur in the future because now they are not getting that reinforcement. So how is this all relevant? See, when behaviors occur, the best thing to try to do is use what was talked about earlier, the ABC data, aka the 3-term contingency. In the event that you can't figure out what happened, the best thing is to try to remember what happened before the behavior occurred. After you remember what happened before, figure out how the behavior stopped. Obviously, this is easier said than done, but it's the most effective method for quickly figuring out the functions of a behavior. In a situation where the behavior seems out of left field, it can be easy to guess what happened if you use this method. For example, if you heard your child crying for no reason and then they stopped after you did something, try to remember what happened before. Maybe you were out of the room or something, and then you came into the room and picked them up, and then they stopped crying. Then you put them back down and they started crying again. If you take the ABC data into account, this probably means that they wanted to be picked up. That is the function of their crying behavior. Well, I hope you learned something from this crash course. Obviously, this isn't everything, but hopefully it helps you get started on your journey to taking ABC data and understanding why behaviors happen. And as always, thanks for watching.
To the town of our Free rode a stranger one fine day. Hardly spoke to folks around him, didn't have too much to say. No one dared to ask his business, no one dared to make a slip. The stranger there among them had a big iron on his hip, big iron on his hip.